Great. I think we're live. Are we live?
About a half a bar's length. And it says it likes us. We are good to go. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome to the January meeting of RMSEL. We're so glad that you decided to join us, whether you're here participating in the meeting or watching virtually, we're glad you're here. And I think as we always do, we start with introductions just to let everybody know who's on the call. I'll start and then I'll turn it over to the other three directors on the call and then we'll introduce the RMSEL staff. My name is Carrie Olson and I'm RMSEL board from Denver Public Schools. And I'll turn it over to Angela.
Hi, Angela Christensen from Littleton Public Schools.
Brianna.
Brianna Mestas from Public Education and Business Coalition, PEBC.
And Nichelle.
Nichelle Ortiz, Director from Aurora Public Schools.
And Chad.
Chad Burns, RMSEL Executive Director.
And Julie.
Julie Stelzer, Finance Director for RMSEL.
And Chris.
I'm Chris Vedito, the Enrollment Coordinator for RMSEL.
Thank you so much. And as Chad mentioned before we started, since we're in EL school, we always call each other by our first names. So you'll notice we're a little more informal than perhaps you're used to in your regular board meeting. So again, thank you and welcome. And Chad, I will now turn it over to you. Is it Julie for the approval of the agenda?
Well, Carrie, if you'll take a motion for approval of the agenda, but would like to bring forth to the board a potential board member would have to call a motion. Hold on, we have Director Myers coming in from Douglas County here.
Great. You can tell I'm in Washington, D.C. and thinking of other than board meeting, so apologies for that.
Take a brief pause here. Good morning, Director Myers, welcome.
Looks like she's still connecting to audio. Good morning, Director Myers. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I am so sorry. I've been doing meetings from here, but didn't realize it wasn't Zoom. So I had to download Zoom on my school computer. Anyway, good morning. I am Becky Myers from Douglas County School District, one of the new board members this year. So I'm in a big learning curve. So let's see. Not sure what else you need to know, but I'll probably be listening more today.
Thank you, Director Myers. And we usually call ourselves by our first names here, just to let you know.
Okay.
So we might just call you Becky if that feels comfortable for you. If
That
not,
feels great. That's great.
and we can feel free to ask any questions. I'm your interim chair, Carrie Olson, and we're just getting started here. I would like to ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda for Tuesday, January 25th.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please call roll.
Carrie Olson,
Aye.
Angela Christensen,
Aye.
Brianna Mestas,
Aye.
Nichelle Ortiz,
Aye.
Becky Myers.
Aye.
Motion passes. Our agenda has been approved. So the next agenda item I see is the approval of the minutes from November 30th, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve those?
I move to approve the minutes from November 30th, 2021.
Do I have a second?
Second. A second.
I think we got you. So we got to move in a second. There we go.
Chris, you want to call roll, please?
Okay. Carrie Olson,
Aye.
Angela Christensen,
Aye.
Brianna Mestas,
Aye.
Nichelle Ortiz,
Aye.
and Becky Myers.
Aye.
Perfect. Motion. And now I will turn it over to Chad to give us his director report.
Well, thank you all for being here this morning. As Carrie welcomed us all to this virtual meeting once again. We'll just go ahead and share that, we have decided in the month of January to be in a virtual platform to respect that each of our elected officials also serve as professionals in their community and professionals on their school board. So an operational decision here at school. We are in operation and we understand that we want to have not be hypocritical in the way we operate, but certainly a decision of mine. So just want that for the general community out there, out of respect for these board members to serve in these capacities. You have my update. I sent it last evening, but kind of go through it and took a little bit of a different tenor and approach to our COVID update and community support. As you can read, we've been doing this for 2 years now, been providing weekly updates, case counts, hospitalization rates, looking at positivity rates in schools and how those things impact us. And as with anything dynamic like this virus is, we've truly been turned on our head for the month of January. We have a 25 to 30% positivity rate in our community at large. And that is directly impacting school operations, both with staff, children, and families. As early as last week, we sent a communication to every cohort in our building that we had at least one positive case across the board. And I think that's indicative of what's happening in your schools. While these cases have increased, we are also a blessed and humble community to have vaccinations, therapeutics, and the overall mutation of this specific variant is resulting in milder infections for our adults that work in serving school communities, as well as our kids. So we've been able to stay open, we've been able to stay present, and we've been able to communicate and collaborate with our staff members. We had a large volume of students out in our kindergarten classroom, had a private conference with our teacher there to ask her comfort level and see where she's at. And her demeanor, her resolve, her perspective was, please don't make me teach kindergarten via remote. So I think that just resonates with the people that we have in schools right now and the individuals that step into these roles every day. And I just want to take a little minute to share a little story. As I shared, I have my own kindergartner. I think kindergartners are unique and we lean into our kindergarten kids for wisdom sometimes. And he rolled out hot the other day and he told me, "Hey Dad, Mrs." and he shared his teacher's name. "I saw her in the parking lot. She has a car." And you would have thought that this little guy had just seen, a superhero fly across the parking lot. And I think this is how we need to step back sometimes and realize that our children see the leaders that they interact with in their classrooms every day. Our teachers truly wear capes. They're invisible. They fly around with their superpowers. And kids as young as 6 see that superpower. And kids here at RMSEL all the way up to 18 years old also see that sometimes when they don't tell people. So I just want to remember right now that January's tough. It's been a heck of a curveball, but that's the people that we get to work with, the type of resolve and demeanor that they bring to this job. And we've been knocked down every day. We rally, we pivot. We have individuals serving in some long-term sub roles and helping out. We have leaders in classrooms. We have instructional coaches that are stepping in. Can't say that it's not without challenge, but schools are great places with great people and filled with community. So just want to extend today and celebrate our educators, celebrate our extended family of substitutes that are serving right now, our volunteers that step in a moment's notice. And it's also a celebration to you all as board members. General public, remember, these are public officials that are volunteers with sometimes 2 and 3 full-time jobs. And board service is certainly one of those. And January is Board Recognition Month. So thank you to our teachers, our educators, our volunteers, our substitutes, our board members. It's not without one of these individuals playing a pivotal role in the crew right now to make it successful. So just want to say thank you, and my COVID update trying to be a little more focused on just the reality that we're living right now. Jump into a business item. This is that time of the year where Chris becomes one of the busiest individuals in our school. And just like with anything, she's pivoting to help support attendance this morning and taking on other responsibilities while also managing enrollment. We've conducted the first phase of enrollment, which is recommitment of RMSEL families. We provide families the opportunity to provide us notice whether they're staying for next year or whether they're relinquishing their spot. We have an 86% retention rate in grades K through 11. So a high retention rate overall. At RMSEL, as many of you have heard over the years, we've seen in the 10-year enrollment document I sent over, we see our biggest transition at 8th to 9th grade, where we see approximately 50 to 70% of our kids transition. Head back to your local districts: Littleton High School, Arapahoe High School, Cherry Creek High School, George Washington High School, William Smith High School, Rangeview, Douglas County, et cetera, because kids have been here for 9 years with the same group of kids, and they take a step to explore. And so if you take our 8th graders out of that retention number moves up to 95%. So very high retention here of students in off grade levels. What we do with those vacancies is Chris then loads them into the third-party lottery software, which is conducted by Schoolmint, formerly Smart Choice Technologies. And then the lottery software will run the lottery of new applicants on January 31st, or I'm sorry, the application closes on January 31st at midnight, and then the lottery is run on February 7th. We then provide families notice that they received a spot. We historically like to provide them the opportunity to come in and be present and shadowing at school, and then get to do an open house with their teachers. But once again, for the third year, we look to that process will be done virtually. And so once they receive that spot, have their shadow opportunity, their open house with their teachers. Then they have 1 week to go through the process of acceptance. And while the bulk of this timeline happens in February and March, enrollment does stay open as families make decisions over the summer. Different opportunities come and go all the way up through October 1st of that next year. So we're excited. Been doing 2 open houses a month, connecting with parents virtually. Those have been a question and answer forum to try to provide access to this place, and feel good about our upcoming lottery here at the conclusion of the month. As we discussed at our last board meeting, or our board workshop, we received a low number of responses to our strategic plan community survey that we sent out, down from what we expected to be in the mid 100s to only 20. So to try to garner some more support for that, I'm going to set up 2 times for feedback: one in the morning to be accessible to those parents that are able to shift schedules in the morning, and then one in the afternoon after school, to create opportunities for parents to drop in and provide feedback. I will announce to the community that those will be recorded for the purposes of being able to go back and take notes and information to synthesize for the board. We also do the same thing with our virtual question and answer sessions for our teachers with the shadow, so that they don't have to repeat that process 9, 10, 11 times. We record that and then share that video, but we do disclose that to families as they participate. Finally, spoke to Coulter, our general counsel, yesterday about the upcoming intergovernmental agreement, which is our contract with our 5 district partners. She's connected with all district council at this point, and has the conflict of interest waivers issued, so doesn't believe that there's any conflict with the work that her firm does in your partner districts, and is expecting to have a first round of revisions and comments by that February 11th date. Coulter and I are going to work together to meet this timeline in service of this community. So that's where we are as of today. So I'll pause, open up any questions to my report to the board members, or other questions that may have arisen since our workshop.
Thank you so much, Chad. And a huge thank you to you and Julie and Chris for all the work you do to keep RMSEL up and running, as well as thank you to my board colleagues for serving in Board Member Recognition Month. So I'll open it up now to any questions or comments that any of you have. Brianna.
Yeah, thank you. I have a quick question that's top of mind when you're speaking about the negotiation update. Do you know if Coulter has specifically reached out to PEBC as well? I can circle back to Sue, but I want to make sure that we also have an opportunity to provide some support and feedback.
Sure. I have not confirmed that, but I will do that and send you a personal response.
Okay, thank you.
You as well as Sue.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else, any questions or comments? I know Nichelle and Becky, you're new. So as you cycle through all this, if you have questions later, as you look through this, feel free to reach out to myself or to Chad or to both of us. I know when I first got on the board of RMSEL, it seemed like there was just a lot of information coming at me all at once, and trying to contextualize it sometimes took a bit. So just let us know. I really appreciate all the work that you've done, Chad, with Coulter to get us to this place. And I love the timeline that you've got laid out there. So I saw that you'll be recording the sessions when you're asking for feedback too, so that we can view them if we'd like to look at them later. And you've got some public comment laid out for everything. So thank you for all of that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'll just echo, I appreciate your flexibility and the flexibility of your staff and families and students. I know that it's hard, but I think it's amazing that you've been able to work with a plan B, plan C, and so on and so forth to really particularly get the feedback that you need to represent the community. So nice job.
Thank you.
So for my fellow colleagues on this call, I just wanted to let you know that one of the things I've done in Denver is I've asked our portfolio management team to reach out to my other board colleagues just to let them know what we're doing at RMSEL, because I think sometimes everybody's so busy, it's hard to understand. But with the IGA coming up, I just wanted to be sure that everybody else on my board understood what we're negotiating with RMSEL and what RMSEL is. So that might be a suggestion for you all to go back to your districts and work with your superintendent. I know Susava knows RMSEL well, so I don't need to tell you that, but the rest of you might just reach out and just be sure that everybody understands what we're doing and the wonderful things that are happening at RMSEL. Nichelle, I saw you come off of mute. Did you have a question?
Yeah, a question, and then also wanted to offer my appreciation to Chad and his staff. Thank you for showing up for students every day and continuing to respond as needed, and just hang in there. My question was around the negotiation piece for the, I don't even know all the terms yet, but what is the number of seats, will that remain the same per district in the new negotiation, or does that ever change? Is that ever a changing factor when these negotiations come up? It's still learning about the RMSEL board, and then I guess RMSEL, the program itself, and how many students from each district you have right there. Those, I guess, that placeholder. So just wondering if that ever changes at all with these negotiations.
Sure. So I've been here through, I came in and we had a temporary operating agreement, and then through 3 cycles of this for 11 years now of revision. The only change that we've ever had was moving from a static metric to an up to metric, which you'll find in the page 1 of the IGA, which is included in that board workshop as a reference document for you and Becky. Those board workshop documents are super helpful, and be glad to do virtual with you or open to, if you would like to come in person and go through those with myself or with Julie, other team members, any questions, phone call, those pieces. So just super accessible. That up to metric created the opportunity for us to go across district to fill seats in the event that a district did not fill all of their spots. And so right now the proportional setup has been up to 200 from Denver, up to 110 from Cherry Creek, up to 50 from Douglas, up to 40 from Littleton, up to 40 from Aurora. And that was based on previous figures of, specifically with Aurora, it was 35 in the static agreement versus the up to metric. And then under open enrollment statute, schools can enroll students from out of district, Sheraton, Inglewood, Jeffco. But the way our interpretation of that here is those spots come after the priority of students that are protected within the agreement seats. And so historically, the only place we have ever seen out of district students receive spots has been in high school, where a class may be under the class cap of 25 kids. So we do bring in kids from those districts, but certainly it limited because those seats are protected by the agreement in your districts.
Great, thank you. And yep, I might take you up on that offer for some, one-on-one, just getting to know those materials in the board workshop. So thank you for pointing me where to go to. Thanks.
And I think a helpful one that was asked for after the fact, as you work with your colleagues in your council, is that tenure enrollment. Chris does a nice job of keeping that information. Tells us all about seats enrolled, number of waitlisted students, number of students that apply through the lottery, the number of students that accept and relinquish through this period that we're in right now. And then we also have to submit that enrollment document to our private equity shareholders through the bond each year as an update of the general health and wellness of the school, because our finances are based on a static metric of per pupil revenue.
Thank you.
Becky, I see you're off of mute. Do you have a question or a comment?
No, well, a comment, and the same thing. I would think I would like to come. Also, just, I missed last month, and so I think my email's correct now. So I definitely would like to come down and just even visit the school. So
Absolutely.
we can arrange that. Okay, thank you.
It's fun to see RMSEL in action, and it's beautiful to see the new addition. So I hope that both of you will be able to wander through and see that. So thank you so much. All right, we'll move on. Open forum. Chad and Julie, do we have anyone signed up for open forum today?
We do not.
Okay, so then I will move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Julie, I think it's probably up to you to call roll, since Chris had to go and cover. As we mentioned, RMSEL is a place where everyone pitches in. So Chris is helping fill in this morning. So that now goes to Julie, I think.
Carrie,
Aye.
Angela, Christensen, Brianna Mestis,
Aye.
Becky Myers,
Aye.
Nichelle Ortiz.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next, we'll move into our discussion items. And the first topic we have is the strategic plan, which we sort of touched on, RMSEL 2023 Community Survey. And I'll turn it over to you, Chad.
Just touch back to my report and touch back to the work we've been doing to bring Becky and Nichelle up to date. This board went through a process of hiring a third-party consultant to come in and work with us on looking at equity in our school community. We looked at funding, achievement, opportunity, conduct, and access as those domains. Those documents are available in that packet I shared or under the BOCES tab. And that was really a general health and wellness checkup of the conditions present in our school and what we hope to achieve as a community over the next 10 years. RMSEL's moving into 30 years of existence as a school accredited with distinction, and we want to be able to continue that, to offer that to our partners, offer that to our families, and make sure that it is accessible and equitable. And this strategic plan was drafted out of that, changing some of our goals, objectives, and tactics. And unfortunately, as with many things in your district, that work was happening right at the onset of school adjusting to what Nichelle called as our new normal. And so while the timeline has taken a little bit longer, the depth in that document is really there. It's very dense, it's very intentional. And we've put it through staff committee, we've put it through board committee, and we really want to get that community voice and feedback, inclusionary of students as we make final decisions of approval. And so we missed with the survey. Certainly Could have been timing, could have been everything that families are juggling and wrestling with in their lives and making this time work. But this is just going to be an opportunity to close the loop on that and bring that forward to the board for final approval. And hopefully that can be done as early as February or April, knowing that we don't have a meeting in March with spring break. Second item on here is what I already shared, which is IGA renewal, the process for that. Be working with your representatives in your district. You do have that document with my initial edits. I will say for members new to the board, the last cycle of revision on this was very extensive of council and board members, and it was really bringing a document that was 2 decades old up to a present speed. So with the caveat, the last cycle of revisions on this was very robust. So you will see that my initial commentary was minimal with the red lines, because I feel like this team in our community did a great job with this the last cycle, but certainly open to continuing that negotiating process to make sure we are here to serve kids and families. The other piece I have on here, and I will take the responsibility of, I take a look at this agenda. Julie helps prepare this. We pass it along for approval. One thing that I missed that this group should consider today, it would be a motion to amend the agenda of a board member, but we do need to select our 2 officers for serving on the board moving forward. RMSEL has 2 officer positions, much so like the staff positions here. We're oftentimes doing more than one thing. And so we have a chair president position, and then we have a secretary treasurer officer position. So we have 2, we ask that we have 2 officers selected in those positions. Certainly can open that up to discussion of the board today if a board member would like to make a motion to amend the agenda, or we can wait on February, but I'll go ahead and turn that back over to the board for commentary.
So being the temporary chair, I'll keep going. For Becky and Nichelle, I live about 5 minutes from RMSEL, so I volunteered to be the temporary chair when Kelly Perez cycled off the Littleton board, just for ease. And I was also sort of filling in as the secretary as well, so Julie could just let me know, hey, pop over to my office and come in through the playground and I could sign things. So maybe before we discuss, let's go back to the strategic plan and the IGA and see if anybody has any comments or questions, and then we'll come to that. Because I know we have 2 new members on here, and actually Angela is also sort of new, although you've been able to attend a couple of meetings. It's funny to think, Brianna, that you and I are now the veterans, right? Along with Angela Garland from Cherry Creek, who couldn't be with us this morning. But I'll open it up for any questions on the
Chad, thank you for your the timeline of the IGA. That helped to pass along to our district, to our superintendent. We've reviewed it as a board and as our superintendent and his staff. And so we're good from LPS there. So thank you for that timeline. That helped.
Really helpful. I know in speaking with our portfolio management team, they really appreciate how everything's been laid out. Anybody else, questions or comments? So, Brianna.
Yeah, Chad, I was just wondering, it sounds like you have a good plan to get for the community survey. And at our last meeting or workshop, several of us volunteered to support. Do you need any support for those sessions, or are you set? Yeah. What are the needs of RMSEL right now?
Always welcome board members to participate in any and all things. We'll just recognize Nichelle. I appreciate your attendance at our open house last week. You have a unique name, so I thought that might have been you participating. So I appreciate you getting feedback and learning from new parents, learning from our team here. So if anybody would like to attend those, what I'll do is when I populate those links, I'll just send it to the full board, and you can attend one, you can attend both, or you can attend neither. The one thing I will verify, just because I'm in communication with Coulter every couple of days, I think if we have 2 or more members, it constitutes a formal board meeting. So maybe we will just have that process be, Angela, I'll attend the 9 o'clock one. Brianna, I'll attend the 3:30 one. And then it's not a formal record of the board. I'm pretty certain that that's the sunshine laws, but I always like to verify because it's a principal license, not a JD.
Julie, I saw you were going to jump in.
Is it 2 or 3 that constitutes a board meeting?
It's 2.
2, okay.
But what we could do if there were, like, if 9:30 only worked for 3 of us, we could just post it that 3 board members would be there, and then we would be fine with sunshine laws. So, because we've done that in DPS when 3 board members wanted a public event, we've just posted it, and then people know that they can listen in if they wanted to, but we could try and keep it to 2. And it probably, just with all of our schedules, I suspect there won't be more than 2 on any of them, but I appreciate that, Chad. And one thing Chad and I talked about is starting to calendar invites for these meetings and then for other meetings. So it automatically goes to your calendar, and then you can accept or decline as necessary. So you're not hunting through your email, as I know sometimes our inboxes get really full. So we'll start doing that too, and that will be helpful. And then you can just decline the ones you can't come to and accept the ones you are. And if there's 3 of us, then Chad and I can figure out, or whoever the new board chair is, to how to post it. And I also just want to echo my thanks for the work on the strategic plan. It's been a long time. So I appreciate all your hard work and all of the revisions and taking it back to the staff and then to the families for feedback. So great. All right, so we can, if there's no other questions on the IGA or the strategic plan, we can move on and discuss board officers, but I just want to make sure that you have ample wait time to think about if you have. I know Nichelle and Becky, you'll get caught up on that as you need to, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
And certainly always slow me down. You know, we live in the world of touching these things every day, so sometimes I get 2 feet in front of myself, so I apologize for that.
Okay, it's all good. Angela?
I would move to amend the current agenda to add the addition of officers today.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So the will you call roll, Julie?
Fun. Carrie Olson,
Aye.
Angela Christensen,
Aye.
Brianna Mestis,
Aye.
Becky Myers,
Aye.
and Nichelle Ortiz.
Aye.
Motion passes. So we can now open it up for discussion of officers. As Chad mentioned, we have the position of a board chair, board president open, and then the board secretary / treasurer. We wear a couple hats, so it's 2 people for 4 roles.
Carrie, I'd like to say thank you first for stepping in after Kelly stepped down when she was done with her time in LPS. And thank you for just continuing that tradition of great leadership, and I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I'll let other discussion, then I'll come back for a motion.
Thank you. It's been an honor. I've been on RMSEL now. Chad, has it been 3 years? I think it's 3 years.
Yeah, right at the start of your
Yeah.
term, transitioned with former President Ann Rowe.
Exactly. She knew for Becky and Nichelle, my dissertation is actually on the meaning of educational travel for students ages 12 to 18, because I traveled with 800 students on 37 trips over 27 years from the west side of Denver and the Westwood neighborhood. I traveled with them to Washington, D.C. and Europe. So EL is always very close to my heart. So former President Ann Rowe said to me one day, I think you'd love to get to know RMSEL better. I had no idea that this school, I drove by it all the time, but I had no idea all the cool things that happened at this school. So I'm very honored to have served for this long.
Yeah, and I'll just echo Carrie. Your leadership has been super important in like for me transitioning into this role, and I know for new board members as well. So I appreciate you stepping up and just providing that consistency, that structure, and also just modeling, how to be a really engaged board member. So I appreciate that.
Thanks. I appreciate your help, Brianna, and talking through everything and working with PEBC. I really appreciate it. Becky, I see you came off of mute. Was there anything you wanted to ask or add?
No, I'm good. I'm just I thought everyone was off just.
Yeah,
in
no,
case.
that's fine. Just wanted to be sure. It's always so hard on Zoom, right? To be sure, is it somebody coming off? Or I heard somebody walking through their meeting last week in a Zoom board meeting. So I'm like, well, I don't have anything interesting like that, but.
There's no further discussion. I would move to approve that Dr. Carrie Olson remains as the president of RMSEL board.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And Julie, would you call roll?
Carrie Olson.
Aye. Accept.
Angela Christensen,
Aye.
Brianna Mestis,
Aye.
Becky Myers,
Aye.
and Nichelle Ortiz.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion passes. I am honored to serve.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I look forward to it. I am interested in it, so I really appreciate it. I really think as I've thought about this and I've talked with Chad a bit about it, I think as we move through adopting the strategic plan and we move through the IGA, it'll be good to have somebody who's been on RMSEL for a couple years just to be able to shepherd that process. And I will, Becky and Nichelle, I will be reaching out to you to just see if there's a time that I could meet with each of you just to talk. I know Angela and I have something scheduled. Brianna and I have met before, and I've met with Angela before as well. So I'll look forward to that. And now we'll open it up if there's anybody who feels so moved. I hope there's one of you who wants to be secretary and treasurer. Julie, would you like to explain what you expect of your secretary treasurer? Because I know they work closely with you.
Basically, it is going through our budget when they have questions. It's everything. I don't know how to answer that question. There isn't a whole lot of hands-on work in the secretary treasurer, but they are a signer on our minutes and any resolutions and all that kind of thing. So I hope we haven't inundated Carrie when you were secretary treasurer.
I think not at all. You made it very easy. And if I couldn't get there, you dropped it in the mail and I could sign it and send it back to you. I think the only thing would be to respond to Julie quickly so she can continue with their work. She's very organized though, so you'll see that.
So that's.
This is hopefully not a huge detour, but I'm looking at the handbook right now, and I think it would be worth making a revision regarding I see an explicit section about what the role is of the board president. And I think it would be helpful to have a section about the role of the secretary treasurer, just to be really explicit. And, for future board members, they, when considering a more active role, they can have a strong sense of what their expectations are and what they're stepping into.
That's a really good point and a good catch. Fresh eyes on the handbook are really helpful. And Nichelle, and be sure you have that so you can look through it. Dan Jorgensen started it when he was on the RMSEL board, and Krista Holtzman and I picked that up. And then other board members, as they've come on, have looked through it. So we'd love your feedback. But I agree, Brianna. We'll note that and we will add that. Well, if there's no one who wants it, I would move that we nominate Angela Christensen as the secretary treasurer.
Second.
And Julie, would you call roll?
Carrie Olson,
Aye.
Angela Christensen,
Aye.
Brianna Mestis,
Aye.
Becky Myers,
Aye.
Nichelle Ortiz.
Aye.
And the motion passed. We have 2 new officers. Congratulations, Angela. All right, so that brings us to our next action item. We have an approval of the 2021-2022 budget revision. Do I have a motion to accept the budget revision?
I move to accept the budget revision.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Please call roll.
Carrie Olson,
Aye.
Angela Christensen, Brianna Mestis,
Aye.
Becky Myers,
Aye.
and Nichelle Ortiz.
Aye.
And the motion passes. Thank you, Julie. And now we will have a budget report from Julie, and you will find that it's also very detailed for our new board colleagues, and you can always reach out to Julie with any questions.
And any, for Nichelle and Becky, if you would like to set a time and come and we can go through the budget in detail, it looks probably a lot different than your district budgets because this is down to the nuts and bolts of what's happening and how it's figured. We do budgets 3 times a year, as you do in your districts. One is May or June, and that's our original budget. And then we have an opportunity to true up the budget in January, and that's our revised budget that we're looking at today. Then there will be another one in April, May, which is a supplemental budget. And that's, again, just to true up numbers for the year. Once we get, this is what you all got for the budget. It looks kind of like that Excel spreadsheet. Once we have that approved, that gets put into our accounting system. And then every month at the board meeting, I report out on our budget to actual and variances and all the rest of the financial statements, the balance sheet, et cetera. So at the start of the packet that you're given, there is a management summary report, which kind of goes through anything that's of note on the budget. So on this particular one, everything that shows on this management summary actually just got taken care of in the revised budget that you approved. So I don't know if you want me to go through this line by line or if you need some time to look at it or questions or whatever. But we trued up our revenue numbers to our October 1, 2021 count. In addition, when we do the actual budgeting process, I'm really conservative. So we under budgeted, knowing that in January they would true up those numbers and give us a good PPR number so that we're not stuck, we haven't overspent. So you see like a big jump in our PPR, that's about $557 per student. That plus the increase in students, that's what trues up that number. Every year we have to make our bond payments and all the other associated costs with the trustee and the cultural education facilities. We have different costs that go into that. And that's the next kind of section, the budget appropriation resolution. That $450,000 that we earmark for that is typically going to be a budget rollover number. And you'll see that as a resolution, usually in April, May, June, somewhere in there. But that's what we're talking about in that section. The next one, as of BOCES, we receive funding. That's the $199,664 figure. That's down a little bit from, it's usually 200,000 plus. Something that's going to be very confusing for new board members. Every year we do landmark trips. And in normal times, at the end of 5th grade, there is a sailing trip where we fly our 5th graders to California. They get on a tall ship and they actually sail around Catalina Island. We have been unable to do that, obviously, because of the COVID and the pandemic, but we hope to get back to that 5th grade trip. Our 6th graders go to Yellowstone for a week and look at all the ecology and the wolves and all of that in Yellowstone. And then our 8th graders in normal times take a 15-hour bus trip that goes from Denver to Little Rock to Memphis to Birmingham. And it's our civil rights expedition. So we go to all those places, Little Rock High School. We go to where Martin Luther King was assassinated. We look at, in Birmingham, there's a square in front of the Birmingham, I forget the name of it, Civil Rights Museum, that they have bronze statues of all of the things that happened in that square. And then off one corner of it is a 16th Street Baptist Church. And so our students get to go through all of these places. That's a wonderful trip. And then in normal times, I think we did it this year. We have our high school, the entire high school goes out for a 10-day backpacking trip on the Colorado Trail. So all of those trips that we do in regular times, The next section on the management summary talks about the fieldwork carryover for landmark trips. Every year we earmark a portion of fees to go towards landmark trips. So in the event that our sailing trip, we had to change from the Ocean Institute to Los Angeles Maritime Institute because of the fire that happened in California aboard this ship. We couldn't have that many students on the ship, so we had to go to a bigger vessel. That money we were probably out of pocket. We've paid the $25,000, but it's been 2 years, 3 years since we've gone on the trip. In the event that we can't get our money back from the pandemic, that landmark trip money, that pot of money will be used to pay for that. Anything that's unexpected, unanticipated costs. We've had instances coming back from Yellowstone where we had a chartered bus that we had to pull the bus over and take all of our RMSEL buses up there to get kids because the driving conditions or the bus driver were unsafe. He had driven for too long. So anyway, landmark trips is a pot of money for those unexpected things. Let's see, our enrollment on October 31st was 395, and we came in actually at 393. Classroom revenue is not something we budget. It is donations from parents who make donations to like our high school science program. There are donations in there from parents for specific classrooms like our Genius Lab and our art classroom. And there are also things in there that are from Colorado Gives Day. We have parents who earmark their money for a specific or a directed donation. So that money is in there too as classroom revenue. And then the miscellaneous income that's on here, typically that is, so we're going through this right now so I can speak to how our enrollment process is. We get to January of each year and we send out a recommitment letter to all of our existing families to see if their kids are coming back the next year. So they send us back the recommit letter once they've signed it or tell us that they're not coming back. And then they have to make a $300 deposit that goes towards their fees for the next year. So that if they don't come back, it's a non-refundable fee. So we get a lot of people in the summer that are shopping schools and they got into DSST or they got in somewhere else they were trying to go and they'll walk away from their $300. So that's typically what our miscellaneous income is. And then down the next section is talking about any expenses that we have that are out of whack. And like I said, these just got fixed on the revised budget, but I'm going to go through them anyway. We pay our lease. We lease our building from DPS, and twice a year, November 1st and May 1st, we have $75,000 payments due to them. So you're going to see on the financial statements timing issues with that money. The next section is kind of what I talked about in that budget rollover number. These are the payments that we're making on the bond, the interest payments, principal payments to our trust administrator, to Moody's, to DAC, which is, they disseminate the data that we give them and put it up on the EMA website, which is for the stock exchange. So all of our bond investors can see that. And then just going through the rest of these, you guys can read them. But these were adjusted on the revised budget. If you want more information on them, I can talk to you about that. So, Chad?
So I just want to make a couple clarifying comments. Thank you so much for always doing this work and going through the audit process. You make it supportive of myself, of our teachers, of everyone. RMSEL is a bit unique, and I want to clarify a few points. I just took some notes as she went through this to highlight the work of the board in service of that strategic plan, the negotiation renewal, and where we are. Over the last 2 years, we have a metric for those fieldwork fees. Fieldwork fees fund all of the supplemental programs that students do. They don't fund staffing salaries. They don't fund salary percentage increases. They are 100% allocated to students and accessing those trips and fieldwork. And then they break down on that schedule shows how a portion goes to insurance, how a portion goes to transportation, how a portion goes to financial aid, which is really an important column there and also reflected in the budget. Our auditor found that every kid that wants to attend RMSEL has access to attend RMSEL through this built-in financial aid metric. And so just want to share that, as families go through that renewal component with their $300 deposit for holding their seat, if they are families that are eligible for free fieldwork fee services or reduced fieldwork fee services, that does apply to them. And so they work with Julie to support that. So families don't have to come up with that if there's someone that's receiving support. We send notices about that, and it is accessible on our website as well as for new prospective families. So I wanted to hit those couple pieces. You will note in there's a breakdown for teachers of how that money comes to them as instructors versus sitting in an operationalized administrative account. Those supply accounts for teachers are their budget dollars to use to purchase expedition support resources. So for example, right now, I'm coaching our team of 7th and 8th grade teachers, working closely with them. We're doing a water rights in the West expedition. We've got the Attorney General from the Division of Natural Resources coming in. We have Dr. Minkley from the University of Wyoming virtually into our sessions. And then we had to purchase some books to make that expedition come to life. So we had to purchase 100 copies of the Emerald Mile. So that fund is used for schools like ours to pivot to purchase curricular support materials as we go. So that's that supply account that is teacher funded, or not teacher funded, for teachers versus what you would see in a typical school of, $100, couple $100. Those supply accounts are very robust with multiple $1,000s there for them. Second thing is that fieldwork fee piece. When teachers need to go on a trip connected to what they're learning in class, they tap that fieldwork fee account. They put in an excursion form, they provide their receipts, Julie books them to those accounts, and then individuals get out on those experiences. And then just a couple clarifiers as Julie addressed the lease agreement piece and then the private equity bond. Denver Public Schools owns the facility that we're in. We have a 30-year lease agreement with them up to 2050 for the duration of that 30-year lease term on this campus. We were awarded the Building Excellent Schools Today grant, and then we had to provide a private equity match to that. And so that's that bond payment that corresponds with that 30-year lease term. So just a couple clarifiers there that I think are good for the service of new members and our community at large to know where we're at.
Thank you, Chad. I was going to mention that we do have the scholarship, and I know one thing that we've been working on even through the strategic plan is trying to get that. Sometimes we hide the best things about RMSEL, so we've been trying to get out the fact that there are scholarships for families who wish to participate at RMSEL but can't afford the extra fees. So this is just a reminder to everybody that we do have that available. So thank you. I'll open it up if anybody has any questions or comments. All right. Well, Julie, thank you as always for having everything clear and organized and ready for us to look at and digest. And thank you, Chad, for adding the additional context. We really appreciate it. So the next item on the agenda is an item for future discussion, and that will be the Executive Director evaluation for 2021-2022 school year. Chad, I didn't know if you wanted to say anything extra about that before I jump in.
No, the board did ask last year. We used a new rubric and structure to provide some context. Would like to continue the use of that. And I think one thing that the board asked for is to break those things down into smaller chunks to digest. So I kind of have 8 domains that I have some notes on of performance as tied to those pieces this year. And if that breaks out, simple math, 2 in February, 2 in March, 2 in April, 2 in May, gives the board the opportunity to consolidate that in May with an approval in June if the board so moves to do so. So that would be my plan is to add executive sessions to this on behalf of the board and then break that down into more manageable chunks and be able to provide feedback as requested from last year. So the hope would be if we can start that in February. I think it would be great.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say for our viewing audience and our new board members. We found that waiting until June and then having to look back was really hard to remember everything. So we thought if we could break it in chunks and look at it and talk about it along the way, so it didn't sneak up on us all at once. We thought that would be better. And I know we can send that, what we had talked about, out ahead of time. And I know, Chad, you'll send out the 2 each time before each board meeting. But I think that still feels good, especially since we have new board members. It'll give us a chance to start to get to know each other and learn more about the goals that we've set for you and then how you're meeting them.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for that sort of responsive shift in how we're approaching this. And I completely agree with you, Carrie. I think it will, knowing that there are new board members, again, like outlining, I'm going back to this beautiful handbook that you worked on, you and Carrie had worked on. I think being really explicit about that process, and also including like the rubric would be very helpful to refer to and really to have as a roadmap for us, knowing that there have been some changes, particularly in like breaking it up. So I'm really looking forward to that. And again, thank you for accommodating that request by the board from last year.
Such a great idea to add all of this to the handbook. That'll also help with continuity as people cycle in and off on the RMSEL board. So keep your lens on adding things to that. That's a great addition. Anybody else have any comments or questions at this time?
I just take a final word of supporting the individuals here that do amazing work. We circled up on Monday, something we do in Expeditionary Learning Schools to be together. And based on some things that have been happening in our community, needed to provide some remarks and some context. And I think something that captured the essence of our environment, and I hope that captures those of your schools, is it's impossible for us all to be professionals in every aspect of what we're asked to do today. You know, you can't be the expert on everything. But I will say schools are filled with professional people first. And they are just a talented wealth of human beings. And that's what gets us through the hardest time. So as you're working in your own districts, as you continue to serve this place, you know, we're not professionals in every aspect of every expertise that we have to have, but we are fortunate to be surrounded with people that are professional human beings, and it's a great place to be. And we're going to jump to it, and it's above 20 degrees, so we'll have snow fitness this morning, and great things are happening in school.
Snow fitness, that sounds like fun. Yes, I appreciate your leadership through all of these challenging times, Chad. You've done a fabulous job, and thank you for always keeping the board up to date on everything. I appreciate the quick emails with all the details. So thank you. All right, I think we finished all the business for today as indicated on our agenda. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And Julie, will you call roll?
Carrie Olson,
Aye.
Brianna Mestis,
Aye.
Becky Myers,
Aye.
Angela Christensen,
Aye.
Nichelle Ortiz.
Aye.
So this meeting is adjourned. Thank you again to all the staff at RMSEL for all your hard work. Thank you, Chad, Julie, and Chris, for preparing for this meeting. And thank you to all my board colleagues for being here this morning. Everybody stay well and safe. Have a good day. See you next month.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Very well. Thanks, Carrie.
Yeah. Oh, sure. I'm just oddly super excited to work with all of you now that I've got to know the RMSEL community so well. I was like,